All right, we're on. And once we hit 30, we'll officially jump in. James Aaliyah is here. Hi, James. You can talk now, too.
Hey, what's
It's,
going on, Ron? How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, buddy. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all that you're doing.
Thank you.
And I'm glad we could squeeze you on here. And I certainly hope it leads you to some victory in November. Um, and yeah, we're people are loading in quick here, James. So it's going to be go
Sweet.
time. And you
Cool.
better be ready for some questions.
Bring it.
And I'll give you the official skinny
Yeah.
once we officially begin.
Cool.
How's the campaign trail going though? You're doing okay?
Yeah, it's going good. I mean, we're just here at the campaign office right now. We got about 5 people ready to work. We have a few people actually on phone lines already from home. We run phone bank consistently throughout the day that we're maximizing our opportunities to talk to people. So, like I said, man, we're just hustling. No days off.
I like it. I like it. That's what you got to do. I mean, that's what you got to do.
I know.
All right, so we're almost there, and then we'll officially begin.
Sweet. Well, I'm ready for all the tough questions, Ron. If you guys want to throw Marvel versus DC at me,
I'll throw that at you now. That can be like an off the book. Like we want to know Marvel versus DC. So yeah, this is from me via you. Marvel versus DC.
Yeah, dude, hands down, no questions asked. Marvel. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know how there's even a comparison with it. I kind of get embarrassed when I hear so-called progressives claim DC. So
because I mean, DC is clearly the more conservative organization.
Absolutely.
I mean definitely less diversity.
Yeah, and you've got Batman is who they brag about.
Batman, the billionaire,
and he's a he's a narcissistic billionaire with daddy issues. He sounds too much like Trump to me. So.
And then, well, Iron Man is Iron Man Marvel or DC? I'm not a big Iron Man's Marvel.
Iron Man's Marvel. Now the difference is he's a philanthropist.
He is, and he's willing to mingle with the hoi polloi, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I can see that.
Yeah.
And he's an alcoholic, so they're not afraid to go for the underbelly over at Marvel, which is actually true. I mean, when you think about, and we're over 30, so we'll officially start here in just a second. But when you think about, like, especially the X-Men, like in many ways, that was kind of ahead of its time. I mean, not in every way, but in some ways, it was way ahead of its time because they had men, women, they had diversity and all that stuff going on at a time where you didn't quite see that as much. You still don't see it all that much, but you know, more today than before. But X-Men were doing it for a long time.
Oh heck yeah, they were. So, hands down, man. No questions asked.
I agree with you, but again, I'm not like an expert or a connoisseur. I don't. I've never been a huge Batman guy. I mean, I don't dislike the movies or some of the newer movies. And Batman Returns, I freaking loved, still love. But I think in recent years, Marvel's movies have been a little stronger. All right, so we are officially we're past the 30 mark. Everybody, welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means you guys tweet me articles, you send me ideas, and that's how we build the show. Or if we have a guest like today, you ask them questions. The questions are coming from you. James, I'll let you know right now. I let every guest know this. I have somebody in the chat feeding me viewer questions. So if you see me kind of looking around or looking down or whatever, it's not that I'm not paying attention to you. It's that I'm trying to get the questions together. I'm trying to organize things. So please don't think at any point I'm not paying attention. I am. I'm just multitasking to the best of my ability. And today's guest, everybody, is James Aaliyah. I pronounced that right, yeah?
You did, Monsieur. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I figured as much, but I never double checked with you. Usually I make sure with everybody, no matter what. I'm like, it's Smith, right? It's that's how you say it. But yeah, James Aaliyah, he is running for state assembly in the 71st Assembly District, and that's out by San Diego. So, James, what can you tell us about the campaign trail thus far? Let's just kind of start out basic. What are you up against? How has things been so far? How did you get through the primary? Kind of unpack a little bit of that for us, and then we'll get into what you're all about as a candidate.
Sure, Ron. So the 71st Assembly District it was definitely a really, really, really heavy Republican district. It was almost a 40-point Republican seat. We got through the primary really strong. We're the first Democrats to get through since 2012. It's been two Republicans for the longest time. Um, but this time was unique. We got through, but we got through by holding the incumbent to under 45% as well. So it's still wide open. The district runs all of rural San Diego and all of rural Riverside. Thus far running for it, um, it's been very, it's been a very long, tiresome campaign. I mean, I've been running for almost 2 years now. Almost immediately after the elections in 2016, I told people that I was running and I started campaigning. And I had announced later on in 2017, but I started my Whisper campaign right after. So
why after 2016? Were you inspired by the leadership of the Democratic Party, or what happened there?
Oh, and I was actually furiously pissed off at the leadership of the Democratic Party. I was inspired by a 76-year-old Jewish man from Brooklyn named Bernie Sanders. And, after I saw Bernie's messaging, I was always engaged politically, but I was never really active. As soon as I heard Bernie's message and saw what happened to him, I said, I got to do everything I can to get this guy's message out at a micro level if he's not going to be able to put it on a national level. So I basically designed my platform. I had actually known about public banking a long time. I was a big believer of Medicare for all, and that was it. So I started campaigning, and we've had it's been interesting when you run against a Republican. You would think that the Democratic Party would do everything that they can to help you if you've made the strides that we've made. So, all the polling indicates that we're within 5 points of taking the lead. We performed extremely well in the primary, but we just won't play ball the way that they want us to. So we don't get the help that they give everybody else.
Do you think it's because you have tattoos? I mean, I think that could be why. Did they see your tattoos?
It could be tattoos, but I think it could also be because I do talk a lot of crap about the Democratic Party, and I'll never stop.
All right. Well, let's hold up a second then, and let's kind of transition into platform. So what is your platform? What are some of the key bullet points there?
So the backbone of our campaign is simple. We, number one, push for public banking. We want to create a public bank in the state of California. I believe if we created a state charter, that number one, saving all that money in remittance costs that we currently spend to pay private banks to manage our money, we could put toward use. But we can actually start making money. I mean, the banking industry is one of the most profitable industries in the United States, and there needs to be some competition amongst banks. They all price everything the same way. And so, if you go to XYZ Bank, you're paying for XYZ product pretty much in comparison to what the others are charging. Now, if the state set the standard and the state had, we charge this for a checking account, or if the state started doing loan programs, the private banks would have to compete. But what's great about it is that, we could do our own small business lending. So for example, we could create a charter and start lending to the cannabis industry. We can start lending to small business that doesn't qualify for lending because of federal regulations. There's a lot that we can do. And the reason why public banking is number one is because all of those shiny projects that they say we can't afford, like Medicare for all, tuition-free education from kindergarten through graduate, and rebuilding our infrastructure, we can afford all of it through a public bank. So that's our platform, is those 4 items right there.
So rebuilding infrastructure, free college, Medicare for all, and public banking, and you're bridging connections between all of those issues, which makes it sound realistic, because it is.
Thank you.
That's what you. Whenever somebody says, "Well, where's your pony tattoo guy?" you connect the dots for them.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
how has that messaging been received then?
It's actually been really well. I was actually super surprised with how well Republicans took in the idea of public banking. When I first started telling them, they go, "Oh my gosh, it's socialism. You're a socialist, this and that." And I told them, I said, "Well, I'm
You
not
pointed
scared.
to one of your tattoos and you said, "Damn right," right?
Exactly.
But
Well,
then they're like, "He's a big guy. We're still going to listen to him."
yeah.
And
So
then,
so basically what I told them is, don't be afraid of spooky language. I'm perfectly fine being a socialist. I said, but I want you to remember that North Dakota is one of the most conservative states in the union. They have a public bank, and they also have the highest approval rating by consumers in the nation. And then when I tell them you can get around federal regulations for small business, their eyes open up.
oh
Once you,
yeah, dude, that's
yeah,
smart
yeah.
play.
Yeah,
All
so
right,
so that's the beauty of it, is I mean, all environmental protections, all this stuff, we do need them. We need
of course,
regulations.
of course.
But why on earth is a mom and pop shop regulated the same way Walmart is regulated? They shouldn't have the same standards. In fact, Walmart lobbies for the mom and pop shops to be regulated heavily like them. So
So
the
they
mom
can't
and pop
compete.
shops got it. So no, we need to have a different standard. There's no way in hell a hardworking family business should be regulated the same way Jeff Bezos is regulated. So when I tell them that we could do this through the public bank, they want to get on board right away. They go, well, I couldn't qualify from lending from the federal government. Let's see what I can get from the state.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting, that's an interesting parallel you draw there. What about
Yeah.
as far as you're in a pretty deep red district? Have you found
Yeah.
that Medicare for all is connecting?
Yeah. So what's funny is when we first talk to people about single payer healthcare, they say no way, it's socialism. But then when we say, well, how do you feel about Medicare for all? They say absolutely, we support it. So
Interesting.
the problem is that it's just branding, and it's the alt-right media and the extreme conservative media. They try and use scary words to intimidate people, and it works. They tell them, see, after I tell them when they're sold on Medicare for all, I tell them, I say, you realize that single payer is just a Medicare system, right? It's just a single payer system, but it's the same way Medicare is set up. And they say, well, that's not what so and so said on the news. And I said, well, unfortunately, you can't get all your information from the news. You can get updated on what's going on, but you should really do more research. And
Mm-hmm.
so, it's been a big deal out here. There's a lot of seniors in this district on fixed incomes. And the people are suffering. Almost 25% of the district doesn't have any sort of health care, and 2/3 of the district are underinsured. So it is a hot topic, and it's being pretty well received.
All right, so we got some viewer questions. I want to get to them.
Cool.
So Convo Couch wants to know, how can you assure progressives that you will not drift to the center if we help get you elected?
So number one, I mean, I don't know if I can be any more clear with people that when we say we haven't taken any corporate money, we have taken zero corporate and zero corporate PAC money. And we've also taken it one step further. So you remember earlier, Ron, when I told you that we didn't get any help from the Democratic Party?
Yes.
We were sat down and we were told that we were going to be put into some sort of special program that the Democrats put on at the state.
Like a good special program or a bad special program?
I
That
mean,
sounds creepy and culty.
yeah,
Like Mr.
yeah.
Aaliyah, you've been selected for a special program.
well,
You would sell your Thetans, but it's going to cost you $5,000.
yeah, exactly. Well, for a progressive, it's probably not a good program, because basically what it was, it's this program that they call Red to Blue. And what they do is they set you up with all these corporations and all these corporate PACs. You meet with them, and then what happens is they give money to the party, and then the party gives money to you. So
Mm.
they basically sat us down and they said, here's the beauty of our program. You can maintain your corporate free pledge. You just meet with these corporations, they give the money to the party, and then the party gives money to you, and nobody will ever know. I said, well, I know, and my campaign manager knows. I said, so the problem is that if the money's coming from a corporation I met with, it's still taking corporate money. And they said, yeah, but it's coming from the party, so no one knows you ever met with a corporation. And I said, well, it sounds like it's legal money laundering. And so at that
Yeah, that's
point,
exactly what it sounds like.
yeah.
No,
Well, at
so
that
who
point,
was the organization doing this? Was this the DCCC or who was this specifically, or just the state?
Ron, I have actually vowed that I didn't want to cause too many problems about it.
All right, just say as much as you can.
As soon as the campaign's done, I'll say who it is. But it came
Okay.
it came from some heavy hitters at the California Democratic Party.
Okay.
So yeah,
this is a very clever way to get yourself invited back, by the way. I see what you did there. Very
yeah.
clever. He was like, you know what? I am calling out corruption and risking my political future, but I can go on Get Your News On with Ron twice with this.
Well, Ron, I can't blow the whistle yet. I've seen what's happened to all these Russian politicians as soon as they challenge the oligarchy, and we know the Dems have such a great relationship with the Russians that I just got to hold off till after the election. But it did come from some very influential leaders in the party. And so not only are we not taking any corporate money or corporate PAC money, we're really not taking any of the Dem money as well, because we know what it entitles. Now, if they come to us and they just drop us a check for money and we didn't meet with anyone and we didn't have talk with anyone, fantastic.
Yeah.
But that's not how it works. And that's not how it's going to work. So that's how Convo Couch, I'm going to run unapologetically progressive and not be pulled to any direction except stay in the left.
So how did they respond though? I mean, getting back to this story, how did they respond when you were like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that? Were they mad?
Well, at first they were understanding and they're like, well, what about associations? So I said, what do you mean? They go like, like the Consumer Lawyers Association. I go, you know what? If it's like consumer lawyers and stuff like that, I'll talk to them. I mean, that's an association made up of individuals. I'm cool with that. What I'm not cool with is sitting down with Pfizer and them saying, I'm going to give you a check for $8,800 and you're going to do whatever we say. So if an association wants to meet, if an organization wants to meet, let's talk. But you're not going to buy off my vote and just give me money and expect for me to vote for you. So they said, we'll get a couple of associations to reach out to you. And then when we left Sacramento, we never heard back from them. So
they're like, this is all right. We can't get the payday we want out of this guy.
Yeah,
we'll just see what he does on his own.
Yeah, pretty much.
Very interesting. All right, Daniel wants to know, and this is kind of near and dear to something we talk about on this show an awful lot. Do you support municipal internet?
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Shit, yeah, it's the right response. That's how freaking cool it is.
Yeah. Shit. Yeah. I mean, municipal internet's great. I mean, I like the fact that you get to regulate it locally, that it can vary wherever you go. I fully support it. Now, here's what I will say about municipal internet. You need to pass something at the state level that sets a standard, because we do live in like my county, for example, we have 5 Republicans on the board of supervisors. So if we had municipal internet down here, they would regulate it the same way that Donald Trump would regulate it. So
we need to have a net neutrality clause.
Exactly. So yeah, I do support it.
Well, that's good. Yeah. I actually have a little task force here going on. It's the Southern California Municipal Internet Task Force. Yeah. We are growing slow but sure. I'm working mostly in my community in Pasadena, but I got other folks in other areas, and we're trying to get the Institute of Local Self-Reliance more involved, but we got to kind of get some of the cities on board first. So, that is, that's a cause near and dear to my heart. I was happy when the net neutrality bill passed, but, the way I like to explain it to people, and I'm for every net neutrality bill on the state level. I'm for them. You can be for both. It's not one or the other. You can be for all of it. But the way I like to explain it, look, net neutrality holds the line in the meantime. Municipal internet solves this problem forever, so that we're not battling out in the courts for years and years to come. Municipal internet puts the internet out of the corporate hands and into the public's hands, where it should have been put in the first place. Net neutrality preserves the free and open internet in the meantime. And if we were ever to lose the free and open internet at any point, it's too late. Yeah,
that's actually one of the easiest ways to explain it that could possibly be out there. And you're absolutely correct. So,
what are your thoughts on a tax on carbon?
I love it.
Schultz wants to know.
Yeah, I love it. So, here's the argument. Currently, we're all fighting over the gas tax, where we've had Californians pitted against each other. And my opinion has been this the entire one. I want to preface this saying I hate regressive taxes. Regressive taxes only attack the poor and attack the working class. That's number one. But number two, why is it that we're all fighting with each other over 11 cents a gallon? Meanwhile, Chevron and Exxon is getting a $60 billion a year subsidy. I say tax them. So I'm all for it. I'm for carbon taxing. I'm for drill any sort of drill tax, whatever we have to do to hold corporations accountable, so they start preserving our environment or creating revenue every time they destroy it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like they are using our environment as their playground, which is not.
Yeah.
First of all, it's not sustainable. It's
Yeah.
not, and it's the consequences are horrible. But second of all,
Yeah.
not only does it not help domestically at all, it just pads the pockets
Yeah.
of a couple oil typhoons.
Yeah.
But also they don't pay for any of the destruction either. Like it's a lose situation for
Absolutely.
everybody involved except
Yes.
for the CEOs. And even like the jobs argument is total BS, because
Yeah.
usually the jobs are temporary and they're, they'll pay okay at first, like they'll pay okay for a while, but then it goes
Yeah.
away.
It does.
And like study after study shows the community doesn't benefit overall. Like the
At all.
community loses overall.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And besides that, we're destroying our habitat. You know, like
right.
I'm half Arab. My dad was born in Iraq, and I was talking to a really smart environmentalist I know, a guy named Cody Pedersen, if you've ever heard of him. And
Mhm.
he said, he goes, we're going to lose the Middle East. And so I thought it was just like, a warning statement. I go, yeah, unless we start cleaning up our act now. He goes, no, we're going to lose the Middle East. Like, we've done irreparable damage to our environment. So we do have to stop. We do have to move on to ulterior methods right away.
Yeah, I like to, the way I like to put it is, look, right now we're going to consume and we're going to
Yeah.
be an issue no matter what. That's just what we are as humans, unfortunately.
Yes.
Right now we're behaving like a deadly virus. We need to
Yes.
start behaving like a common cold, because
Yes.
then we have a while, eventually Earth's going to shake us off like a bug, as George Carlin put it. But if we can start behaving like a common cold, we'll have a while here. We'll have a while here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got it.
All right, we got more questions. Chris Wynn wants to know, this is a fun one. Question for the guests. Co-ops are the future of business. What will you do to promote and support the spread of worker co-ops? Do you support worker co-ops, first of all? And do you have any plans in the works to try to promote those?
6% yes, and it's funny that he says it now, because I just about a week ago posted an article on our campaign page in regards to worker co-ops. And if you look at cities like Philadelphia, worker co-ops are literally thriving. And here's the reason why. You don't have a board of directors, and you don't have executives that you need to pay 40% of your administrative fees in bonuses. So, I mean, one asked of me about a year and a half ago on the campaign trail, and I talked to a big union representative when it came to employee-owned co-ops. It was, you can afford to buy U.S. steel. We can afford to buy products made in the U.S. if the factories are owned and ran by by unions or the workers. And it really is true. When you don't have to pay 40% of your overhead in administrative costs, administrative fees because of bonuses, you can afford it no problem. So I'm a big proponent. I actually recommend that we need to have community block grants available for employee-owned co-ops. And the reason why is because we have a lot of work that needs to get done in California, and we don't have anyone to work the jobs. So I support them.
Yeah, man, I think that is the way of the future. My goal is to eventually make Get Your News On with Ron a worker co-op. Right now it's, like right now it technically is by definition, because, the people that help out, who are, mostly, some are volunteer at this point in time because there's just not enough revenue yet, but others like they get a percentage of the show's revenue. So technically it's going in that direction, but it's not quite an independently sustainable venture yet. But that is my goal and my promise, that I hope to eventually make Get Your News On with Ron a workers co-op. And have, people involved that are able to, sustain themselves off the show. So one step at a time, one James Aaliyah appearance at a time. Once he,
thank you. Yeah. Well,
once you drop the big truth bomb about the Democrats, we'll that'll go viral.
November 7th, my man. November 7th.
I'm stoked. So, well, somebody wants to know, like what made you decide, since you do seem to have your disagreements with the party, and your platform is certainly to the left of the party. Well, they don't really have a platform, so I guess it's just, you have a platform, so that makes you different right away. But what made you decide to dem enter as opposed to running independent or as a third party?
Because I'm right. Because we're the ones that are real Democrats. All the corporate establishment ones are not the ones behaving the way they're supposed to behave. So if they've got a problem, they should leave. Why should I have to leave the party that actually represents the values that I stand for? Because they're so busy kissing ass to corporate interest, and they're too busy meeting with lobbyists versus meeting with the public and passing bills for them. So it was really simple. When I took a look and I said, what are Democrats supposed to stand for? I took a guy like Jimmy Carter, who's a real humanitarian, who cares about the people, who he would give the shirt off of his back, who at 94 years old, he's still building houses for the homeless. And I said, that's the guy that we're supposed to be like. Not like the Clintons. We're not supposed to be like the Clintons. We're not supposed to be like Barack Obama and drop 20,000 bombs on Yemen or any other country for no reason. So I said, why would I leave? This is my party. I'm going to take my shoes off and get comfortable. They can leave if they're not happy with it. So we did have that whole option to dim exit, but it's just a lot easier to steal a car than it is to build a car. So we're going to steal the car back, and they can leave if they want.
As far as values and principles go, I'm with you 100%. Unfortunately, in orchestration, it's not going that way. And I would love to see that change, of course. And one thing I would tell you, Jimmy Carter recently came out against single payer. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm saying it from a humanitarian standpoint.
No, I understand.
This is what the guy, this is politics. But, like I said, this is what I've said Democrats are supposed to stand for. We're supposed to stand for the people, and we haven't stood for the people. So why would I leave if that's my message and that's what the party's supposed to stand for? All those other people that have corporate interests instead should be the ones to leave, not us.
Right. Sorry, we're getting, you dropped out a little bit there. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, and I've actually had a similar conversation with Ro Khanna where I was just telling him, I'm like, Ro, what should be happening is because you have the policies people like, 92% of people that identify as Democrats, like Bernie Sanders' platform, want progressive change in this country. The establishment Democrats who are completely out of touch, have no policy ideas whatsoever, they should be going to the Ro Khannas and the James Alias and the Maria Estradas and the folks like that. And they should say, how can we keep our jobs? Because we don't want to lose our jobs. How can we keep our jobs? What do we need to be on board with? Cory Booker should be Andrew Gillum should influence Cory Booker, not the other way around. It's the other way around, though. Cory Booker is influencing Andrew Gillum. And that's part of the problem. And unfortunately, it's set up to work that way via mechanisms like the DCCC, via mechanisms like what you just described earlier, via mechanisms like the DNC and super delegates. Yes, we have seen some reforms, but it's not enough. So, I understand someone like you're running for office. You don't, you have to make that judgment call, and I get it. But, I think in the long term, I wish we would have started a new party when we had a chance. And I think that real change is going to happen not solely at the electoral politics level at this point. I think it's going to happen outside via a strong united labor movement and via, other groups that are cause oriented and kind of underrepresented parties that are going to be loud and very loud, and they can't be ignored. FDR, he was a moderate that saw the writing on the wall and said, listen, rich friends, you're either going to give up a little or you're going to give it all up. The choice is up to you. And he did that not because he was, he wanted to do it. He did that because labor was loud as hell and they weren't going to take it. Socialist groups were loud as hell and they weren't going to take it. Communist groups were loud as hell and they weren't going to take it. The way I see it, we got to do that again.
I agree. I mean, if there is to be an uprising and there is to be another party, I think it's going to be the Labor Party. It seems like it's the most organized and the one that meets our values the best. So you're absolutely right on that. The only thing I would say is I'm not ready to throw in the towel on the Democratic Party, just because I've seen how much power, now that I've been in the belly of the beast, the California Democratic Party holds a lot of cards when it comes to fundraising, when it comes to working with legislators, they make a lot of decisions. And Eric Bauman, the party chair, he's a very powerful guy. And so the one thing that I will say is you've had all these progressives running in California, and all of them have lost or is losing. You know, there's a handful of people that got through. Myself, my sisters, Maria Estrada, Jovanka Beckles. Now, here's the thing: if we lose, we've now taken over, because we're all going to be ex officios. We're all going to get to appoint people, and we're all going to have a lot of say in the party, and we can actually take back the party and get progressives elected within. So we can end the whole money funneling system and all that stuff. So I think there is some change that we can instill. Plus, if Bernie's on a 2020 ticket, I think we take over easily. But if not, then start sending me some pamphlets on the working class party. So
no, I mean, hey, man, I mean, you know, we got to throw everything we can at the wall. So I certainly, you know, I mean, my thing is I support progressives wherever they are, whether they're, you know, I mean, if I like a candidate, they're running as an independent, I'll vote for them. If they're Dem entering, I'll vote for them. If they're running as a Green, I'll vote for them. You know, I'm kind of just policy over party. And I think we gotta try everything. You know, did I want to see Bernie start a third party in 2017? Yes. I showed up in DC to try to convince him to do it. He didn't. And, you know, I still think we need a new party, but I know it's not going to happen in 2018 or 2020. So it's like, well, how do we get there in the long term, or how do we have an acceptable substitute in the meantime? And I think that, you know, there is something to be said for, you know, Dem entering, trying to hijack the party from within. But I think something like that can't be successful without something outside of the party happening. So, you know, when Bernie's been saying for years, we need something outside the Democratic Party, I think that's like what he's referring to. And that's what needs to happen. You need to have this movement outside of it.
Absolutely. I mean, any movement has happened from an uprising with the citizens. So you're absolutely right. So,
all right. So what is your stance? We got some more questions here. Stance on tariffs and Russia. It's kind of open-ended, so just kind of go where you want with that. Tariffs and Russia.
My stance on tariffs in Russia. I mean, I don't have any issues with Russia. They've never done anything to me. And I if I'm going the same route that I think the question is should we sanction tariffs on Russia or anything like that? Which, you know, I'm okay either way. I mean, I think Russia is definitely trying to pump up their chest to us, and they want to be the top dog. So if we've got to get into a trade war with them, we could. But I actually believe that we should probably have better relationships with countries anyways. And we're not going to do it through tariffs. People have to remember, as the United States, we're the #1 consumer nation in the world. And if we raise tariffs and taxes on other countries, it usually comes back to us the same way it did to Trump, who's getting into a trade war with China right now. And now you have companies like Ford where they're thinking about laying off thousands from their workforce because of it. So I'm not strong on one way or the other. I think if it's a conspiracy question, we need to just get off the whole Russian thing and start focusing on 2020 and get behind somebody that we can now. So,
all right. So short of another financial crash, the Dems won't give up their part in the duopoly. And if they did, what would their financial backers do? What would it take for the left to take over the Dems? I feel like we kind of touched on this, but if you want to, you know, sort of reiterate what you think would need to happen.
So this one, I mean, we talked about the best case scenario where there's just this uprising and the citizens are so united together that it's this organic movement that goes on and it all sort of comes together. I think that would be fantastic. But if we're talking about what I think it would actually take, what it would take is to get some serious work out of progressive candidates elected. And I'm talking about actually phone banking and going and canvassing and doing all this stuff, working with the money that you have. And like I said, focusing on the operations of your state and county parties. So like I said, if you control the state and county party, you control what they do with their mailers, you control what they do with their messaging. And it's totally easy to take over a county party. If you have 25 good friends, you could take over a whole county party. If you had a few hundred people.
Do you have 25 good friends?
On the campaign trail, I've got 25 pretty good friends now. So yeah, it was before I didn't have 5 good friends, but you know,
I don't believe that.
well,
You're a very personable guy. You're running for office. You
yeah.
seem very sincere and genuine. I'm sure
Yeah.
you had more than 5 friends.
Well, I appreciate it, Ron. You're such a nice guy, man. Thank you. Here's my thing. Once you take over your county parties and your state parties, you have all the say. You have all the votes, and you decide how the party is going to be ran. So it's very simple. If you want to take over the Democratic Party, we have to do it step by step. You start with your county party, you move to your state party, then you move to the DNC. So the DNC is going to be the toughest one. But if we can get, California to be progressive, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, if we can get those 13 states all over here to actually get together and become progressive, we take over the DNC. So that's how we do it. So if you want to do it, run for your local county party central committee or run as an ADEM and let's take it. Let's take the party.
All right. I mean, hey, like I said, we got to try everything. So, I when I see progressives run for office, I give the thumbs up, and I certainly want to see, but for me, I'm never going to run for office. That's not that's not the ship I belong in. So for me, it's kind of like causes outside, and that's gonna, we scratch each other's back. It's like we're two ships heading in the same direction.
Absolutely, and you nailed it too. I've said Democrat quite a few times. That doesn't mean that you vote for the Democrat every time. You vote for the progressive every time.
Yeah.
So, like my boy Kenneth Mejia, I mean, people gotta support Kenny too. And like I said, I'm a state delegate. I could get in trouble for supporting Kenny, but I welcome you to discipline me because I'm gonna support Kenny. So,
dude, man, whenever a guy with your forearms and tattoos says, "I welcome you to discipline me," the other person's probably gonna step back.
I know, right? Well, let's hope so, because if they challenge me, they'll know I'm just full of shit and I'm just talking crap.
Love it. So what are your thoughts? Okay, Jordan wants to know, this is a fun one. Who do you want to see run for president in 2020?
Bernie. No, there's nobody but Bernie. I mean, I don't even have a second choice.
What about like a Tulsi or Nina? Like, you don't think any of them?
Bernie. I love Nina. I've been endorsed by Our Revolution. Bernie Sanders is the only person that will easily defeat Donald Trump in 2020. Everybody else is going to be a dogfight. It's going to be tough. I like Elizabeth Warren. I love Tulsi Gabbard. I like Ro Khanna. We do have some great people out there. Jeff Merkley. There are some really good progressives out there. But if you want somebody who's actually going to go out there and defeat Donald Trump, you have to back Bernie Sanders. There's not a question about it.
All right. I mean, yeah, I think I would like to see Bernie run too, but I think there's other names I would consider as well.
Yeah.
And also I think someone brought this up on the chat, and I never really thought about this, but they said there's a chance you might see someone else in the forefront and then Bernie in the VP slot.
So yeah, I don't think Bernie would accept a VP slot if he wasn't confident on the person.
Right.
The only thing that's unfortunate is that we have to remember the way that the DNC works, and you typically don't announce your vice president until the entire field is clear. Mm-hmm. So if there's another progressive candidate out there, they're going to be up against someone named Joe Biden. They're going to be up against, God, I'd hate to say it, Hillary.
Oh, geez.
Could she actually do it again? There's going to be a slew of corporate Democrats running, and the only person that I think would walk out of that battle and survive is Bernie. I think we should definitely consider other candidates. I don't know what I don't know. Maybe there's something about these other candidates that I have no idea, and I could love them to death. But right now, like I said, if I had to pit Joe Biden against anybody else, I think Bernie's the only person that takes him out.
Mm-hmm. See, I actually think Tulsi, if given now again, you have to envision she's put on this platform, right? Yes. And I think somebody like a Tulsi Gabbard, and I'm just talking strategy right now, and I like Tulsi Gabbard, I would vote for it, but like just from a strategy standpoint, the fact that first of all, she's young, she's engaging, she speaks very well, she's displayed a lot of courage, and also she's a veteran.
Yes. Yes.
So I think you're going to have some of that crossover. I think
Yeah.
she would have a way of connecting in the heartland
Yeah.
that I think we're kind of overlooked. Now, I think Bernie has proven he can do that too.
Yeah.
Bernie's
Yeah.
already
Absolutely.
proven he can do that.
Yes.
So, again, this isn't like one versus the other, but, as far as people that I think could beat Trump,
Yeah.
I do think Tulsi Gabbard,
Yes.
if given the platform the right way and
Yeah.
takes it the right way, I do think she could beat Donald Trump.
Yeah. I think she could too, because she's a progressive, and I think progressives can beat Trump. Like I said, it's not Trump that I'm worried about. It's our own Democrats putting up their shills that I'm worried about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do I think Tulsi will beat Trump? Yeah. Bernie will beat Trump? Yeah. Do I think Liz Warren will beat Trump? Yeah. But do I think
I agree with you on 2 out of 3 of those? Elizabeth Warren, I'm not so sure about. She says some good things at some right times, and then she kind of disappoints me on others. I'm not, and I want to like her, like I really do. Like I'm like I want Elizabeth Warren to show us that she's one of us.
Yeah.
But he hasn't quite done that, unless you know something I don't.
The only reason why I would support Liz Warren, if in the case that Bernie didn't run, why I'd be okay with Liz Warren running is because she went after my former boss at Wells Fargo so hard. And she was, I think, the real senator that stood out with holding them accountable. She got John Stumpf basically fired from Wells Fargo after committing fraud and scams. She really has taken on holding the banks accountable. And I appreciate any senator that's willing to do that, because I think the banking industry is the most evil industry in the United States. And I think that that's what would reshape a lot of America, is changing that industry. So I would support her because of her going after them.
That's a hard judgment call to make. The most evil industry in the United States. I mean, I feel like we could have an entire episode just dedicated to that, because it's like, are they more evil than healthcare? More evil?
Yeah.
I mean, they're super evil, but healthcare is like evil squared, right?
Yeah.
Like how?
Yeah. Well, they're the ones giving the lines of credit and the operating and doing everything and brokering all the deals for healthcare.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
they're basically the puppet masters. So.
Every episode of this show, we start with like just a kind of question and an idea that we just kind of talk about in the chat, like kind of talk show style. And I think a fun topic to be like, what is the most evil industry? And then 20 minutes later, we'll just all be crying and the stream will just end. We'll be like, we got to just pull the plug today. And it'll be like, isn't Ron a comedian? What the fuck's going on? It'll be it'll be an interesting episode, I feel like.
Well, shit, I would drive up to a round table with you, Pasta, and whoever else wants to talk about it. And we could have that one out, because it is an interesting topic. I like that.
Yeah. Banking's where you're putting your cards, though. You're gonna be like, I'll be the banking guy. I can hold banking up pretty high.
I am working inside the banks for over 10 years, in mid-level positions behind the scenes. I can tell you that it specifically is set up to try and take advantage of the public and trap you however they can.
Oh yeah. Absolutely it is. I mean, any peek under the hood I've had in my life, like I kind of just get like, I'm like, oh God. I mean, that's why like I'm just like, I'm against capitalism. Like I'm not for it, because I see what it does, and any firsthand experience I had. I mean, part of the reason I feel the way about the Democrats that I do is because, different shows I used to be on where I would get a peek under the hood at the establishment, and I saw what was really going on, and I saw, and I'm like, this is not what I thought it was at all. I mean, that's why I feel the way I do. It's not because, it's not just because of what happened in 2016, although that was certainly a big thing, but it was also because the direct peeks under the hood I've had makes me. That's why I'm just glad I never worked in the food industry, because I would probably never go out to eat ever again. Oh, absolutely. I'm glad I've never had that peek under the hood. I'm glad to just. I'll play. Ignorance is bliss sometimes. We got to stay sane. All right, we got a few more questions, and thank you for being so generous with your time, James. I know you got a lot to do. How do you expect to get legislation passed with a strong establishment majority in California?
So here's the thing is, I have, since I started running, I have done a lot of analysis on a lot of our assembly people. And what I've seen is they want to be liked. if there's anything that they like more than corporate donations, is to be liked by the people, is to be liked by the public. And I have actually gotten a big backing of some currently elected assembly people, and some powerhouses too. Some of the most powerful ones. And so, we do have good working relationships, and it's done because I talk to them the same way I talk to Ron Placone, the same way I talk to Pasta, the same way I talk to everybody. I talk to them the way that they want to be talked to. So, I feel like oftentimes us as progressives, we lose a lot by doing a lot of the extreme finger pointing and name calling and stuff like that, which, don't get me wrong, sometimes we have to do that. Sometimes we have to be firm. Sometimes we have to put our foot down. Sometimes we have to hold our feet to the fire. But for the most part, I think if we sit down and we say, look, this is what's going on, we can negotiate with what we have. Now, are we going to get everything done? No. But do I think if I'm elected next year, we can actually get something through a committee for Medicare for all? Absolutely. I think absolutely with who we have, we'll be able to get a Medicare for all bill through the assembly. And if Maria Estrada is elected,
Yeah.
then we for sure do, because there's no longer an assembly speaker blocking it. So,
well, I mean, the reality of the situation, and again, these are different places in the world. You are running for office, and the reality is somebody running for office, they do have to have a diplomatic relationship with their colleagues. Now, the problem is having a diplomatic relationship with your colleagues has been replaced by using that as an excuse to not actually stand for anything.
Yes.
That's what that's become. But there's still some truth in it existing. And that's why somebody like me will never run for office, because that's something I don't really have the ability to do. Mainly because I don't want to. You, on the other hand, can do that, which is why you're doing what you should be doing and running for office. The world needs James Elias. The world needs Ron Placones too. Maybe not this particular one, but the concept of Ron Placones, I think, are necessary.
I wouldn't have any other Ron Placone except for this one.
Thank you. That means a lot. That's going to be a testimonial on my website. So what are your thoughts on Andrew Gillum going around the state with Debbie Wasserman Schultz? Best idea ever or greatest idea ever?
Oh God, is there any other option? I mean, did he sell us snake oil, or is he doing what he thinks he has to do to win? Who knows? But anytime you back off of Medicare for all, you've lost my support. So I could care less who he's traveling the state with. It's his messaging that he changed. If he wants to go on to a bus tour with Hillary to go raise a whole bunch of money, okay, but are you still fighting for Medicare for all? And he's not. So since he's backed off of his progressive stances, I'm furious. And the fact that he's doing it and he's going on tour with Debbie Wasserman Schultz, with the Clintons, it just makes me feel like he sold us snake oil and we fell for it. I don't think it's the first time progressives have been fooled by an establishment person. I don't think it'll be the last time. But what we need to do is we need to start actually sticking to the platform, he goes
back and forth. He constantly, and his website it's very, the verbiage is kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's like people, they like to just censor out certain sentences and be like, see, he thinks Medicare for all is a good idea. And it's like, he says one sentence where he thinks it could be a good idea. And then he goes on for about 4 paragraphs talking about, quote unquote, strengthening the ACA. And when a politician does that, it's their fault. It's not the fault of the people noticing inconsistencies in their messaging and addressing it. It's their fault. And if not being consistent in that messaging causes them to lose, it's their fault. It's not the people's fault. It's their fault. And if they're not standing by those policies because they think it, quote unquote, can't win, well, then why are you mad at somebody else for pointing it out? If those policies can't win and that's why they're not standing by it, don't get mad at the person that stands for them that points out that they're not.
Yeah, well, Ron, you bring up an interesting point, because consultants have now they've learned you have to get messaging to progressives too to win, and so they've created this thing that I call Bullshit Mountain, and they put a whole bunch of stuff on Bullshit Mountain. So
Mm-hmm.
this
Now,
whole
did they take you up on making that the official name? I mean, it
oh
seems like
no, I gave it to them, and it's the one thing that I'll give to them for free.
that was
So
nice of you.
yeah. So
It's
they put
probably better than what they would have come up with.
exactly, yeah. So they have Bullshit Mountain, and they tell you you need to intertwinkle your messaging and sound moderate yet appeal to progressives. There's only one way to answer the question. Do you support Medicare for all? Yes. That's it.
Yeah.
If your answer is not yes, if it's yes, but, then that's a no. If it's
Mm-hmm.
I do, but the AC, no. If you don't support Medicare for all and word it like that, I'm sorry, you've left the movement. You're no longer in this movement.
Whenever somebody says the whole baby steps aside, which is just, I mean, that's bullshit mountain. Whenever somebody says, I'm just like, you had your baby step. It was Mitt Romney's healthcare plan, the ACA.
Yep.
That's what it was. That was your baby step.
Exactly.
That was somewhat better than the nothing we had, because we had absolutely nothing. It wasn't a great plan. It was just better than the nothing we had. That was your baby step. Now it's time to go a step further and cut these insurance industries out of it once and for all, and go to the type of healthcare system the rest of the industrialized world takes for granted.
Absolutely. You know, and for me, my baby step is much different. My baby step's not the ACA. My baby step is, okay, let's pass it in California. And then once it's,
well, no, I'm saying what I meant was when people say that, when people say, well, we need to go baby steps, I'm like, you had your baby step.
Absolutely.
The ACA was the baby step. It's over now. Exactly. And when you say fixing the ACA, you know how you fix the ACA single payer. That's how you fix the ACA. That's how you want to know how to fix it. I just strengthened it for you. I just strengthened it for you. And by strengthen, I mean fix completely.
Yeah. See, you keep saying you're not going to run, but you're giving all the right answers. Why don't you run for something?
I told you why. I'm not gonna be diplomatic around my colleagues. I'm not gonna do that.
Neither am I.
You will be able to fake it. You'll be able to.
I'll be nicer about it, but I'm not. I'm. If someone has to get called out, they have to get called out. But I'll be kind.
No, you can call someone out and still be diplomatic. But joking aside, you have the ability to extend those necessary olive branch in the position of office. That's why you're running. I mean, dude, I've been a comedian for a decade. I don't know how to do that. I mean, like what? I have to sit in a meeting with you people, and make it out like your not ideas deserve to just not be mocked the entire time. I'm not gonna take this seriously. I'm gonna like run stand up by you guys because I can't stand being here, and I'll think at least if I make you laugh, I accomplished something for the day. That's why I don't run for office.
Perfect. Well, there you go. Perfect.
But Pasta needs to run for office. He really does. I keep telling him, and he keeps bullshitting me. Fiorella should really run.
Fiorella needs to run for office.
Fiorella needs to run for office.
I'm lucky she doesn't live in my district because she'll smoke it out here and she'll win.
I wouldn't want to go up against her on a debate.
Oh no.
I mean, first of all, it'd be boring because we would just probably be like, yeah, we agree on that. Yeah, we agree on that. We agree on this. Yeah, we pretty much. I don't disagree with anything, but she's way more likable than me. So shit, I'm voting for her. That's I lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Another reason why I don't run for office. I'm just like, I would in some cases I would just prefer my opponent.
There you go. He's better than me.
Way more likable. Yeah, you should totally vote for them. They got a much better chance. And I don't want the job. All right, we got a few more, and then we got to get you out of here, man. Thank you for being so generous with your time.
Of course.
How do you feel about the unanimous decision to pass an obscene military budget named after the so praiseworthy John McCain? I have a feeling that's sarcasm coming from the viewer, Tim, but you know, I'm assuming it's sarcasm. I see Tim in the chat a lot. That's sarcasm. But what are your thoughts on that military budget? For it or 112% for it?
Oh yeah, right. It's a crock of shit. I mean, there's no reason why we need to spend we were already spending more than every other major developed country combined on our defense. We could literally cut our budget in half and still be overspending on military defense. And we could put that money toward programs to actually help people. Like, for example, if we took $100 billion out of the military budget and used it to address homelessness, I think that would be a worthy cause. I think there's a ton of other things we could spend money on. The reason why we spend so much on defense is because we have independent contractors and they have strong lobbyists. So again, until we get out there and we start electing progressives with anti-war and anti-military industrial complex views, it's going to keep happening. So it's a joke. There's no way it should have been passed. And the Democrats who passed it all need to be out of office too.
All right, so we got 2 more rapid fire
Cool.
ones,
Right
and then we got to go.
Cool.
And I'm sorry, we actually didn't get to all of them, so so that's a good thing. That's a really good thing.
I talk too much.
No. It's people want to talk to you. That means that people like you, and hopefully that means if anyone that's viewing is in your district, they're going to go out and vote for you, or help you out and do some phone banking or whatever else. Would you accept Medicare for all? And I don't know if this situation would present itself or not. This is an interesting question. Would you accept Medicare for all if abortion was not included?
Whoa. Shit. That's a moral conundrum, ain't it? Well, I mean,
I don't know if that situation would ever present itself, but I suppose that might be one of those cross the bridge if it comes. I can't imagine it would, but
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, technically, our tax dollars don't go toward abortion anyways. So I guess it would be okay for us to pass it if it wasn't included in theory, but I've got to look more into that because I mean, as of now, we don't pay anything toward abortion. Our tax dollars don't go toward it. So it wouldn't be a big deal if we passed Medicare for all and it wasn't. But I haven't looked into that. It never actually crossed my mind. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, interesting point. Yeah. 17th Earl of Oxford brought up that question. And I guess, I mean, I think that's the best answer you can kind of give. It's like, well, if that were ever to present itself, I would address it at that point, but it's not something I ever thought would be on the peripheral. You know, you would just assume something like that would be included.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So last one. What is your answer to the Californians who might ask, how can we afford single payer? How can we afford that?
We can afford it very easily, actually. So it depends on what you want to do. Do you want to just go off the current system? We could do that and add price negotiations. By adding price negotiations in, you could pretty much afford to do it right there. We currently already spend billions upon billions upon billions of dollars on healthcare currently. There was a study done that said it would cost $400 billion for California to have healthcare over the next 10 years or something like that. They forget that we're already spending like 373 billion. So it's not out of the works. But number one, if we eliminated open market pricing and we had actually set prices and we did price negotiation, we can afford it. If we went to a public banking system, we can afford it with the revenues from public banking. If we basically if we had the mandate in the state of California, because we have to keep in mind almost 24% of Californians don't have any insurance. If we did have a mandate in California for single payer, that would actually leverage against everything else, and we would actually be able to afford it there as well. There's probably about 6 or 7 different ways that we can afford it.
Well, I mean, the study I saw too, like I know you threw some numbers out there. The most recent thing I saw was that, you know, they projected that if we unveiled single payer in the state, it would cost about 14% of the GDP, but we currently spend about 17.
Yes.
So we're already paying for it. It's like, I mean, that would be like it's like we're already paying for it. We're already paying for it. And the difference is not everybody's even insured. So we're already paying for it.
Correct. And you know what's funny is they say like we're going to spend a third more on a single payer system, but then we also save all that money in admin fees because we spend like 30 or 40% in administrative costs because it's such a pain in the ass for a doctor to collect on insurance. You know,
in fairness, though, those admin fees go miles in helping the common cold. It's just, you know, those admin fees. I mean, it's like my sinus is cleared right up once they showed me some admin fees. I sniffed the ink and then I was like, oh, great.
Ron, I'll send you a bottle of Robitussin. You ain't got nothing to worry about if you got that common cold. I'll send you some Tussin.
Thanks, buddy. All right, we are totally out of time. You did an amazing job, first of all. But please use the last few minutes to plug everything so people know where to learn more about you, what they can do if they want to help out, because you're one of the good guys.
Perfect. Guys, thank you so much for listening to me for this long hour. If
I
you
don't know
did
why you
like
had to say it was long, but okay.
because I was talking.
Oh, okay.
So if you guys were impressed by anything that we had in our platform, or if you had any questions, you could reach us at www.eliaforassembly.com. That's ELIAFOR assembly.com. Add me on Facebook. Please like our page. We're so close to getting 1,000 likes. It's not even funny, and it's been really bugging me that we're not there yet. But feel free to reach out to us for anything. If you're kind enough to contribute to the campaign, you can donate. And if you even better, if you want to volunteer for the campaign, click volunteer and we can get you set up whatever kind of volunteering that you want to do. So
all right, that's aliveforassembly.com. Check it out, and that's for spelled out FOR. James, thank you so much for doing this. And again, James is running for Assembly District 71. If you're in this district, help out. You know the drill with me. This is Get Your News On with Ron, world's first viewer curated news show. My album's coming out November 2nd, y'all, and I'm freaking stoked. And you can get that album for free if you become a patron. So patreon.com/Ron Placone. For Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of perks. Please do consider it. Check out my website for tour dates. Northern California, tickets still available. See you in Sacramento and San Francisco, November 2nd and 3rd. November 10th, Austin, Texas. Grab your tickets. November 23rd, my hometown, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Grab your tickets. And Graham and I are coming to Florida in January. Tickets available for Gainesville, Orlando, Jacksonville, and Coral Gables. Now, ronplacone.com for all that. James, keep up the good fight. Wishing you all the best going into November. And again, guys, Aaliyah for Assembly.com or eliaforassembly.com. ELIAFOR assembly.com.
yeah.
Peace out.
Brother.